welcome back to the Bitcoin Bunker. I'm your host, Satoshi Down Under. Thanks to those that have been joining and watching the channel as we start to explore Bitcoin. Like I said in the first video, basically I spent all of last year humming and hawing about starting another Bitcoin YouTube channel and trying to figure out how I could actually add value to the space. Been in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency since 2017 and hardcore full-time Bitcoiner since 2021, 22. And basically the purpose of the channel is going to be to help normal people, I guess, people that aren't exposed to Bitcoin, try and get some new people in and understanding Bitcoin and its properties. So we're doing that in each of these episodes, and if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then like and subscribe. First thing we do every day, we do a video, is we check the price. We do say on this channel that price is the least interesting thing about Bitcoin, but it is the thing that draws most people in initially. So we'll have a quick look at the price. We've been in a sideways chop between the 85 and 95 USD range for weeks now. Not much has been happening. This is a weekly chart here, and it looks like we're finally starting to climb up a little bit here, starting to trend upwards. So each of these is 1 week. 1, 2, 3, 8 weeks. 8 weeks we've been chopping sideways, and in this last week, if I jump to the daily chart, we've actually started to break out to the upside. Probably because of more global uncertainty, things kicking off in Iran now, which is going to be the topic of discussion for today's video. So hopefully we see a bit more continued upward momentum with Bitcoin. But my strategy has always been dollar cost average, which if you're new to investing, all that means is you don't really care about the price. You just set an amount that you can afford to put towards Bitcoin or any investment for that matter, and you just do the same amount every fortnight or every payday. And over time, you'll get some high prices, you'll get some low prices that you buy for, but over time, the dollar cost average or DCA strategy seems to suit most investors. And on top of that, you also have to have a long time horizon. So don't ever go trading in and out, unless of course you're a trader, but the stats show that most traders are unsuccessful and not profitable. So unless you're someone that wants to dedicate hours and hours of your time and your life to reading charts and patterns, or astrology for men, as we like to say, you don't need to do that. So unless you're really interested in it, go for it. But otherwise, continue to dollar cost average into Bitcoin over time, and stats show no one who's purchased Bitcoin and held for 4 years is underwater. So all you got to think about is lengthening your time horizon to a minimum of 4 years. And I think if you do that and study Bitcoin at the same time, you'll come to the same conclusion that all of us other crazy Bitcoiners come to, which is I'm never selling my Bitcoin. So yeah, with that, let's kick off the episode. So the episode we want to talk about, I said I wouldn't talk about news a lot, but I think it's relevant at the moment just to emphasize the point of what a hard money like Bitcoin can do for society. And that story is the Iranian currency crisis. So I won't go through this article, but essentially what has happened, actually I'll find this chart, this is better. What has happened basically since the beginning of the year, well, actually only in the last 5 days, 10 days, is the Iranian Rial has devalued significantly. It's been devalued by the central banks over there. And this chart shows Bitcoin in Iranian Rial terms. So while we look at the USD price of Bitcoin and it hasn't really done much, it's still chopping around that $95,000 range. Imagine if you were in Iran with all the turmoil going on now and you had your wealth saved in the bank. So I don't know, we're in Australia, so imagine you had 50 grand in Aussie in the bank and something like this happened to our currency. Overnight almost, your purchasing power of that 50 grand goes almost to zero. Now, if you held gold, you'd be better off. But if you held Bitcoin, look at this chart. Bitcoin's exploded in Iranian Rial terms. So this is hyperinflation. Iran is not the first country to go through it. We mentioned in the first episode, Zimbabwe, Lebanon, Argentina, Venezuela, all of these countries are going through hyperinflation. And so we need a hedge. Now, all the gold bugs say gold's a hedge, which it is. We've seen gold prices explode last year, but ultimately gold can continue to be mined out of the ground. So simple supply and demand, if you remember that from your year 12 economics class, as supply increases or as demand increases, and supply shrinks, what do these miners do? They go out and they open up the gold mines again and they start mining more gold. Now, this is where Bitcoin comes in. Bitcoin's hard capped at 21 million coins. Can't exceed that. It's written in the code. So it's a better store of value than gold because we can't go and create more of it. We can't dig more out of the ground. And I think what you're seeing here with the Iranian Rial is a reflection of that. So when a currency hyperinflates, people panic, right? They suddenly have to figure out how they're going to feed themselves. So by this stage, it's too late. They can't be going out and buying Bitcoin when the price of a loaf of bread has gone exponential. So they're trapped, right? And this is what happens with a lot of people in these countries where they experience hyperinflation. You really just become fight or flight, reactionary, and it's all about survival. But if we look at these different countries that have experienced this, we can either say, whatever, it's Iran or it's Venezuela, that'll never happen here. I live in the West. I live in Australia, that won't ever happen here. We can do that at our own peril, right? Because Bitcoiners believe that this is coming everywhere. We know that we live in a debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme. And to keep that Ponzi going, these countries have to print money. Central banks have to print money, right? So they're going to keep inflating away our currency. They're inflating away the Australian dollar, the US dollar, just at a slower rate. It's not as exponential as places like Iran, but it is happening. So what you have to do as an investor and just as a normal person, I guess, trying to live your life, is you have to find ways to mitigate that inflation. So if they report that we're experiencing 3% inflation, I'd say conservatively double that, because they fudge the numbers, they fudge the basket of goods that goes into that inflation calculation. And but at the very least, even if you take their basic lie, CP lie number, that means that your currency, your $50,000 in the bank, is getting devalued at 3 or 4% per year if you do nothing with it, right? So you can't store your money in cash under the mattress like Granny might have done. You now have to go out and invest. And we're all forced to play this game now to preserve our wealth. So a lot of people do it in real estate. Real estate prices continue to go up over time. But we touched on it in one of the last episodes, how real estate comes with taxes. It comes with government changing rules. And it's not portable. It's not divisible. You can't sell a piece of your real estate off if you get in a pinch, right? So it's a very illiquid asset, even though it might stave off inflation. Gold, similar thing, right? it's more portable, but only in small quantities. It's not as liquid, meaning you can't just sell it straight away. You can't divide it up. You can't go down and buy $400 food bill, and shave off a bit of gold for the shopkeeper. Whereas Bitcoin trades globally 24/7, very liquid. If you need to sell it, you can do that almost instantaneously and get it into your bank within 24 hours at worst. And you can also borrow against it, right, with platforms like Ledn. So it's a very liquid asset, and it's also that inflation hedge where it's fixed supply, right? So it can't be inflated away. So it's going to outpace inflation, or money printing in simple terms. So back to the Iran story. If you were in Iran and maybe a year ago, even a few months back, right, this currency debasement has only literally happened on the 6th or 7th of January. Last year, if you'd heeded the warnings or you'd gotten smart, you would have been putting some of your wealth into Bitcoin, storing it on a hardware wallet, like we covered in earlier episodes, a Trezor, Cold Card, Blockstream Jade, one of these devices. And now you're essentially free, right? You can get away from all the protests, riots. You can get out of the country and you can take your wealth with you. And this is the whole point of Bitcoin, right? It might not be happening here. It might not be happening where you live, but it's just insurance, right? It's insurance. You have it in your back pocket. If things go bad, you can bail and you can take your wealth with you and look after your family and set up a new life somewhere else, right? And avoid these conflicts. And personally, I think these conflicts are going to continue. The world does seem to be waking up to the lies of government, the fraud that's going on globally with corporations, with governments. So there's a lot of distrust in the world right now, and distrust will lead to more turmoil, more uprisings. But at the end of the day, you don't want to be stuck in the middle of that. You just want to preserve your wealth, look after yourself and those close to you, and have plan Bs, right? A plan B to escape the country you need to go somewhere else, or just to protect your wealth from hyperinflation or inflation. So Bitcoin really is the weapon for this. And I call it a weapon like Jason Lowery. That book behind me there, Soft War, is a must read, that thesis. Lowery goes into a lot of things, but basically he calls Bitcoin a weapon. We'll talk about Lowery's thesis over some later episodes as we get more into depth of Bitcoin, because it is more complex topic, talking about Bitcoin outside of just being money. But yeah, it is a weapon. It's a weapon against central banks devaluing your time and energy, because that's what your money is, right? It's your time and energy and labor. You go to work for 40 hours a week, possibly more, for these scraps of paper that another man can print out of thin air and devalue you and debase your purchasing power. So Bitcoin's the weapon against that. You can choose to opt in, or you can choose to sit on the sidelines, tell yourself that you've missed out, that Bitcoin's already reached its top, it's going to 30K or whatever. But I just want you to look at this chart here showing Bitcoin in the Iranian Rial and tell me if you think Bitcoin's dead, or if you think Bitcoin's gone down when you're denominating it in that currency. It's just gone exponential, right? So I think that's going to happen over time. This is a great dramatic example of it. But the message is DCA into Bitcoin. Keep studying it, keep learning it, keep understanding it till you get a real deep understanding of what this thing is and the power it has to make you sovereign and to help you escape the tyrannical grip of the state and governments. That's probably it for this one. Like I said, share this video if you found it helpful. Plenty of other good YouTubers out there, so all I would say is keep coming back if you like this. We're going to dig into more and more aspects of Bitcoin as we go on, and but by all means, don't wait for me to put a video up. Get out there and start looking at more YouTube Bitcoin content, and over time I guarantee you it'll slowly sink in and you'll start to understand this thing. So that's it for now. Stay safe out there and keep stacking sats.